If you're ready to unlock more better days, to take control of your health, to push past your limits and unleash your full potential, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Dr. Jeremy Bettel. For over 2 decades, I've worked with elite athletes and high performers, helping them optimize their bodies, strengthen their minds, and recover from setbacks. Now I'm bringing that expertise to you through the Vitality Collective podcast. In each episode, we'll dive deep into the science, strategies, and real-world solutions you can apply right away. Whether it's enhancing your physical performance, avoiding or recovering from injury, sharpening your mental edge, or simply feeling your best every single day. With insights from top experts and thought leaders, this podcast is designed to help you take action, feel better, and live the life that you deserve. Welcome to the Vitality Collective podcast, where every day is vital.
This episode's going to be a little different. Over the Christmas holidays, we had RD Erika Hoffmaster on the show to talk about how to handle your nutrition over the holiday period. During that conversation, Erika actually brought me some questions from her clients about how to start training in the gym, especially for women who have never lifted weights before. It's January, the gym is packed, and instead of complaining about all of the new people, we're going to help them stay past February. We talk about avoiding the all or nothing trap, why you need to start way below your capacity, how to actually get toned, what it means to gain muscle mass and why that probably isn't going to lead to you getting bulky, the devastating hip fracture statistics that should have everybody lifting weights. This is about meeting yourself where you are and building one sustainable habit at a time. Now let's get into it.
Let's talk now about January, about New Year, New You. I love when there's 1,000 people in the gym. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
People who go to the gym and start posting on social media about all these new people in the gym. Like, we don't want people to get fit.
Yeah.
How about if you go up and you pat someone on the back who you've never seen in the gym, who looks nervous to be there? How about if you help them maintain that? So that's what I would like us to do. Michelle went to the grocery store like January 5th. I think it was last year in Santa Barbara. And she was in the produce aisle and there was a young couple just standing there, just staring at it. Like, no idea what to do. They just knew it was January and they were supposed to be eating vegetables. Mm-hmm. You mentioned some of the skills that we have to learn to do this. And I'll talk a little bit about the exercise side and how we can start being ready for that. What's an approach as we go into January? It is a great time to lose weight. It is a great time to think about a reset, right? Sometimes you just need a trigger and that can be it, right? Like, okay, we're going to do it here. How do we maintain it?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I agree. I love the new year. It feels like a clean slate. And I think for those who are in that moment where they're like, I'm ready to make a change for my health. I think the first thing would be to avoid all or nothing mentality where I'm like either all in or all out. Starting with getting really clear on what your goals are and then setting those little tiny habits first. So in the beginning of January, what is that one habit that I want to establish, that skill I want to develop? If your goal is to eat more vegetables, okay, maybe we experiment. I do this with clients where I'm like, okay, if we're going to try to increase vegetables, this is major skill. And I'm not making light of that. Like, most people are not eating enough fruits and vegetables. Most people have not tried a giant array of fruits and vegetables. So let's have a little bit of fun with it. How can each week we try a different recipe, or every month we pick a different vegetable? But going into the new year, what feels sustainable, doable, avoiding this all or nothing mentality, then making those small little goals that align with that. And then having fun with it and experiment and then collect data and then make adjustments. If you're struggling with knowing where to start, finding someone knowledgeable and trustworthy to kind of help you. Absolutely reach out for coaching, a trainer, a dietitian. absolutely get the support that you need instead of just potentially falling into some crazy diet culture, crazy diet trend area of the internet.
Yeah, and I think just to put some visual definition or a description around that all or nothing, for me, what that looks like is January 1st, you go in and you throw out everything from your cupboards, everything from your fridge that you are used to eating, and you go to the produce aisle and you just buy all this produce that you wouldn't normally buy, and you stuff your fridge with it. That stuff will be rotten in the bottom of your fridge within a week, right? You are not going to sustain that. Your palate doesn't change that quick. Your time, right? You're going to go back to work. Food prep's hard. Chopping really that many carrots is really time consuming.
It's so worth it. I love carrots.
It is so worth it. But if you've never eaten them, you're probably not going to sustain that. And that's where I'd love, you've talked to me about that before, and the try a new vegetable, like just focus on, okay, we're going to try asparagus for a month. Never had it before. I'm going to go on the internet and I'm going to pull up some recipes on how to prepare it. I'm going to find ways that I like to eat it. And we're going to experiment with that.
Yeah.
And then we'll keep that and we'll add another one. But slow changes, right? This is a long-term program. This is not 6-week abs, right? This is not no carb January or whatever else is out there.
Yeah.
This is a program that we are worried about your health, and we're trying to help you sustain this beyond January, to have you not be one of the people that starts and then gives up by March.
Yeah. There's different ways of eating. There's different dietary patterns. There's different types of diets. And I am all for everyone finding what works for them. But when you start it, or you start a habit, you kind of do need to check in with yourself to say, can I do this forever? Right. And if the answer is no, now there might be a little like, well, this is my first time at the gym. This sucks. Right.
Yes.
But if you're like, well, I know I want to be that person that goes to the gym. It's going to be something that you want to continue doing forever. It's the same thing with changing food. Oftentimes I'll have people that are like, I'll have clients say, well, I started adding some random food because so-and-so online said it's like the best vegetable. Like, let's just say kale. And I'm like, well, do you like kale? Right? You might be able to push through and eat it now, but is it something that you can see yourself implementing long-term? I hate pears. I don't like certain vegetables. I don't like peas, right? So that just because those things are great sources of fiber, but I can find other sources. And I had to experiment and test and try these things to find what works for me. We so often are following other people's rules all the time. This diet has these rules. This person told me I have to follow these rules. Like, stop the rules, right? I want you to find your own rules. And that takes experimentation. That takes finding what works for you. If the goal is we want to increase vegetables in your diet, what does that look like for you? That might be somebody might have all the time in the world to chop up fresh fruits and vegetables. You're like, that sounds like torture, right? So get frozen, canned vegetables.
Right.
Just as supportive to our health, right? You have to meet yourself where you are in that moment and think about it long term as well. Like, is this going to be sustainable for me when life isn't perfect?
Yeah. But when I lose steam, mid-February, right? And it's hard and I'm back at work and it's dark and I'm tired and cold and everyone else has started dropping away. Right? That's tough. Yeah.
I know.
And it's the same from the exercise standpoint. You can't, the first week in January, you can't go 7 days a week. If you go 7 days a week, the number one thing that's going to pull you away from your exercise is injury. Right? If you go too fast and you do too much volume too soon, you're going to get hurt. And you're going to get hurt and it's going to suck and you're going to drop out of your program.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you go to the gym 7 days a week and you're like, right, I'm going to do every weights machine, and you can't get out of bed after 4 days, you're not going back to the gym. Right? That's just how that works. So the same of a moderate approach of, I've never done weight training before. It's January. I'm going to start a weight training program. I work with my clients twice a week, right? High performing, high level individuals, we train twice a week. People who are used to exercising, people who like lifting weights,
Wow, yeah.
twice. We don't go every day.
I mean, I think people need to hear that more. I get this question often from clients when they want to jump into a program or they want to be healthy. Oftentimes I hear, well, I want to be toned. What would you say to somebody who is like, I want to be toned?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm asking this question is I will hear that along with, well, I'm going to the gym and I'm doing 4 days of cardio or most days of cardio, and I'm doing Pilates or,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I
Yeah.
hear often.
Yeah.
What
So,
would you say to that?
yeah, really interesting. So there's a couple of factors to being toned, right? There's a body composition, there's a body fat component, but there's a muscle component. If you want to be toned, you need muscle, right? You're going to be relatively lean and you're going to be lifting weights. The concern is obviously I want to be toned, and I joked about it, but I don't want to be bulky. You're not going to be bulky. I've tried my entire life to be
Oh my God,
bulky.
I
My
say that
whole
all the
life.
time.
And I
I'm
have
like,
way more testosterone than you. This is what you get after a lifetime of trying to be bulky.
yeah,
You have to give your body the stimulus, right? Number one is training. So twice a week, you have to be in the gym. And when we talk about lifting heavy, don't think about it in weight, right? It's not like me and you don't have to lift the same weight,
yeah.
right, to be classified as heavy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just starting out, I like to start people at about 12 reps with a weight that they might be able to do 15. If I was yelling at them and making them do more when they got to 12, they might be able to do 15 before they drop the weights.
Yeah.
So that is heavy. Whether you sort of fail or have 2 reps or 3 reps in reserve at 12 or at 4, the difference is just going to be the absolute weight. You'll fail quicker with a heavier weight. So that's your 4 rep heavy. Your 12 rep heavy, you could probably do 14, 15 reps. Now, the
Yeah.
difference there is your risk of injury. If I make
That was
you,
actually I had another question from a client to talk on that is how to prevent injuries.
yeah, it's this way, right? So if I start you and we've got all the influencers out there now, especially with women, you got to lift heavy, 4 rep
Mm-hmm.
maxes, right? If I start you day one and you've got osteoporosis and you've never lifted before with a big absolute weight that you can only do 4 reps for,
Yeah.
your
Body weight
tissues,
might be heavy.
precisely.
Yeah.
It's relative. It's your perceived exertion and the capacity that your tissues currently have. If I put a bar on your back and you've got osteoporosis and I have you do a 4 rep back squat, I might fracture your spine legitimately, right? So
Yeah.
how do we avoid injury? Or let's start with the toned one. We have to regularly lift weights, multi-joint lifts, dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, all these implements, these tools that we have. It should be difficult, but you have to get close to, I couldn't do another rep. And you have to do that for 6 to 12 months. Now, for
That's
women,
hard.
it's
That's
really hard, but it's just like the
Well, I mean,
nutrition,
it's
right?
hard. Oh my God, it's the same. I'll often hear from many women that that's boring,
It should be.
and
No, I'm serious. Like
no, I
I am
agree.
renowned for being a very boring trainer, right? I
Mm-hmm.
am not a novelty junkie. I am not like you don't come to me if you want to be entertained, right? Other
Yeah.
than my charming personality, right? It's we are going to do a program in 8-week blocks. You are going to do the same program for 8 weeks,
Yeah.
right? Your 2 days will be different. You'll have upper and lower, but we're not going to do back squat one week and then lunges the next week and then something else the next week or session by session. We are going to do back squat until you get better at it, right? And that's going to take 8 weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to progressively increase the load, the weight that you lift. So about 4 weeks in, you're going to notice that we started and at 12 reps, you were doing, let's just say 100 pounds. And about 4 weeks in, you're going to notice, oh, wait, that was easier. My form, my alignment, how I'm performing it was
Mm-hmm.
better. The quality, I think instead of 15, I think I'd probably have done 18 reps. So the next week we'll add 5 pounds. right? So it's called progressive overload, right? We progressively overload your system. We don't go too far, where again, we can cause an injury because we don't have that much capacity. We stretch you a little bit and we let you adapt to that new level. Once you've adapted to that new level, we stretch you again. And then similarly, once you reach that sort of plateau, or once we've seen that first 8-week block, which is sort of how long physiological adaptation takes, then we will maybe change the program a little bit. It's not a whole new program. We'll just advance certain parts of it. And so that's how we're going to get toned. The thing underlying all of that, once we give the body a stimulus, we also have to give it the foundational building blocks. So our nutrition is very, very important here, right? Are we giving your body enough protein to lay down new muscle mass? Are we prepared for what that means? New muscle mass is weight, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to be gaining weight during this process, but we're gaining muscle. Yeah. With muscle comes water, comes carbohydrate, right? These are good things. It is not body fat. We have to talk about if we're trying to be toned. You mentioned earlier, like the cardio. We're doing a ton of cardio. We're doing a ton of Pilates. We can't just be expending calories.
Yeah.
If we're going to be toned, we got to back off some of that. And we've actually got to have enough calories that our body adapts up to this new level, right? We have to provide it with the energy to build new tissue, the building blocks to build new tissue. This is an energy expensive process that you're going to go through.
Yeah.
So the stimulus followed by the fuel, those are the key. And then there's going to be a body composition, a body fat element to that. You're going to be relatively lean if you want to be super toned. Don't worry about the bulky thing. Like, you have no idea. I promise you are not going to train hard enough to get bulky. I'm not judging. I just promise you're not.
I tell clients that all the time. It's like, that's not going to happen. Especially I talk to so many women in this like menopausal transition where they're in their 40s and 50s. I'm like, that even bodybuilders have a hard time being.
It's hard.
Putting on muscle like that.
Do you know how much rotisserie chicken you have to eat? Nobody's prepared for that.
Most of the women that I talk to are really actually starting from scratch, and they may have been on diets all their lives, but this might be the first time that they want to do it the right way. They want to do it in a what I like to call health promoting body composition change. And often they're coming into this only knowing how to be on a diet or just restricting calories. And then on the movement piece side of this, all they know is I need to go to the gym to burn calories.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But why should these women prioritize and include strength training? And how do we help them through this process?
So I'll start with the why you should do this. If we think about aging, and if we think about vitality, right? We're a vitality collective. We're about your quality of life. Purposely, we didn't choose longevity collective, right? Because I don't want you to live forever feeling like crap. So if we think about what that means, it's being able to do the things you love for as long as you want to do them. That means being physically robust, avoiding frailty. So if we can avoid frailty, we can keep playing pickleball with our friends. We can keep going hiking. We can keep doing all of these activities that are very physically demanding, right? To stop and change direction and go in another direction in a pickleball match is a very high force, high velocity, high injury risk activity, right? And so number one, we're training for these things that we love. Just like I would train my athletes for this goal, that's what we're training for.
Yeah.
But from an avoiding frailty standpoint, we adapt to the stimulus that's put in front of us, up or down. If we are not lifting weights, our bone mass is reducing because it doesn't need to be there. The body is very conservative, right? It lays down new material where it's needed. If you're not challenging your skeletal system, you lose bone mass, you lose bone mineral density, which progresses you through osteopenia into osteoporosis, right? And most of the women who come to me are above 60. They are exactly what you've described. Never lifted weights, always done cardio, always been in a calorie deficit, now have very low muscle mass, and osteoporosis. So that's what we're trying to avoid. The risk of dying, literally dying, after a fall from osteoporosis, if you fracture your hip, it's like 7 out of 10 people pass within 6 months of breaking their hip.
Yeah, that's insane.
The best case scenario, if you have surgery and go through rehab, it's like 5 out of 10 people die within 6 months of fracturing their hip.
How is that not talked about more, honestly?
I have no
like,
idea.
How are we not like
blows
shouting
my
it
mind.
off the
like,
rooftops?
This is the most devastating injury that you can have. And by the way, the 3 people who don't die are in such high amounts of pain. Their quality of life after this has happened is devastating. Right. So that would be one why.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, if we're trying to avoid chronic disease, and I would lump osteoporosis in with the chronic diseases, but if we're trying to have good metabolic health, we're trying to avoid Alzheimer's, we're trying to avoid diabetes, we're trying to avoid cancer, the thing we know does that is movement, right? And so if we become really weak, and this happens very, very quickly after 65 if we're not training, you'll see such a fast drop-off. And we see with our clients and then looking at the general population, the gap that starts to open up between people who are lifting versus not is huge. So if you can't get out of your chair, your decline is going to be so fast at that point. We're now training, we're increasing muscle mass and strength so that we avoid your loss of abilities to function, really, to stay active. So we're really trying to build muscle mass as the reservoir for glucose. Mm-hmm. I've got a couple of these women that you describe who are actually pre-diabetic because they're severely under-muscled. And so the goal of increasing muscle mass for them is actually to help get metabolic health in check. So those are the sort of the whys for me. Now that the hows, slowly. I think people get very frustrated with me early on because I am very, very conservative early so that we can ramp up and do more later. So I'll actually get you further than you would have gone if we'd started quickly.
Yeah.
Because we build a foundation. And if we think about injury in lifting weights, it's usually poor technique. It's too much weight too soon. You've exceeded your capacity of the tissues. And so there's some sort of breakdown in your system that has forced you out of weight training. So we start with form. We start with the trunk. We start with connecting the upper and the lower body, right? And so that allows us, if you think about the core as it's the junction for all of that force. Every movement starts in that pelvis, basically from your rib cage to your knees, right? And so our ability to transfer force across that system is really important. So we always start with 8 to 12 weeks of core training, essentially. And that involves the hips, it involves the ankles, the feet, the shoulders, the scapula, making sure that everything is aligned and that we're out of pain. And then we start going into our more traditional, what might look a little more like strength training. So it's actually a very slow progression.
How does someone do that without you? I mean, I know that's a hard. Like, I get asked that all the time.
Everybody has to come and train with me, unfortunately. So if you just go to our website, look,
it's kind of like people jumping in. Like, I'm just going to get a gym membership, and then you're like, now what the heck do I do? Like, I don't know
exactly.
You know, what core exercises do. What does that look like for me? You know, if someone is just a total newbie and it's the new year, but they want to prioritize their health and they want to prevent frailty and they're really bought into the, you know, I want to improve metabolic health. I you know, want to make sure I don't have osteopenia, osteoporosis or sarcopenia or anything like that. Where
there's resources. If you're going to start out on a strength training program, it is important that you work with somebody, I think.
I agree.
Everybody can't, like, if you can work with a trainer, if you can afford to do that, 100% don't hesitate to do that.
Yeah.
Because they can guide you through that process. There are some certifications that I really like. I was talking to Michelle about them earlier. I was really fortunate to be introduced to a company called NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine. And their trainers, I would say that that's the certification I would be looking for.
Great.
If I was to walk into a gym and I'd never lifted, I would want to start with somebody who had that certification. Because you have this grounding in that progression. Mike Clark was somebody that I was really fortunate to be introduced to his company initially, and now I've got to know him quite well. And so knowing his philosophy, he was one of the pioneers in this functional training, core training sort of world. That's where I would start at the gym.
Okay.
There are also some really good online programs, and we're actually going to be posting some of these as well, some of these progressions that people can go through. But there are some really good programs online that you can follow along with. I really like Precision Nutrition's lean eating program. It's a behavior modification program, but they have an exercise component.
Yeah, they're great.
I just really like coaching programs where you can be coached through something. They're a little more affordable than maybe a personal trainer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think asking people to help you who sort of know what they're doing, it's the way to go, because it feels different in your body. Right? If you've never lifted before,
Yeah.
things that, like, I am constantly, like, rep by rep in dialogue with people about how they're feeling, because becoming more granular about what pain is, right? You ask somebody how they've felt this week. I'm in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Well, man, that could mean a lot of things, right? We trained Monday and you've been in a lot of pain since. And so
that could be soreness, but if you're not used to
but if you don't
sore
know
after a workout, yeah.
right? And I've had people come back to me and they work with all these body workers and all these things, and basically their job has been to stop them feeling any form of discomfort in any way. And my hamstrings were really sore, and I went to see my body worker and they said, wow, you've got a lot of tension. Like, what have you been doing? And so all of this tension that has been a negative for them, any sort of discomfort in the musculature has been negative. So we want to talk about, what are you going to feel in your body? If the pain is like a pinch, like it makes you jump a little bit when you feel it, that's a bad thing. We don't ever want to feel that.
Yeah.
If it's one-sided, if one shoulder got really sore, really cranky, we don't want that. If the joint, like I can't press on my shoulder and feel it, but the joint is hurting, that's a negative pain. Now, if you're telling me that, okay, both of my hamstrings are sore, both sides on my glutes are sore, both sides in the muscles in my lower back are sore, and it got really bad. Day one, it was sore. Day 2 days out is the worst. So this is called delayed onset muscle soreness, right? DOMS is a real thing. 2 days after, that's when you're the most sore. And then it followed an arc where it went bad for 2 days and then it started going back to baseline. This is the normal progression of soreness. And so just helping people understand the kind of pain that they're experiencing, the sensations in their body of tension, of feeling different, posture maybe fit in the clothes. These are important things for an expert to help guide you through, because it's difficult.
It's often something that I've played sports and lifted all my life, and it's something that I've never really thought about, that feeling, the difference between being sore or pain. I mean, that's such great insight, or that's such an impactful thing for people to know, especially if you are doing this for the very first time. And to your point, that they may be doing things that it's always about avoiding that kind of discomfort and pain. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, a lot of people are going to be doing this on their own, maybe at home. And that is very important for first time lifters, even if it's at home doing body weight, to pay attention to the signals, those types of pain or things that you can expect. Yeah. That's got to be super important.
Yeah. And it always helps to explain it ahead of time versus after, because if people generally won't tell you, right? They're not going to text you 2 days out and be like, hey, I'm really sorry. Is this normal?
I texted you.
Yes, you did. Yes.
I'm like, I cannot squat down because of Jeremy.
Yes.
Because of you.
Yes. Yes. That is true.
I did do that.
Yeah, that is true. So that's the important thing, is letting people know these things ahead of time. What's normal, what's not, what should you let me know about, what should you not? Because even during the rep, you'll be like, look, if you feel a pinch, we stop. Okay, we do a set. Did you feel a pinch?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole time. Why didn't you stop? Right?
I
Because
know.
it's a mindset thing that people just don't, they're just not used to it.
I mean, that's actually really important to state, because going back to what we were saying, this like all or nothing, like I am all in, and really paying attention to where you're starting, and being realistic about where you're
Right.
starting, so that way you're
Right.
not jumping into a program right off the bat, January 1st,
Hmm.
that's totally going to potentially lead to injury or be
Yeah.
just too much or not sustainable.
Yeah. Like my ego is my biggest challenge in that. Right. I'm a big, strong guy. Right. I go in the gym. I expect to be moving weight, and when there's other guys in there who are lifting a lot of weight, and I'm in there just doing my little correctives, that
Hmm.
stings a little bit. Right. And I the injuries I've had in the gym are because of my ego, because I've not checked. Okay, well, I've been in a stage of life where I haven't been training at this level. Maybe I shouldn't try the 500-pound deadlift.
Yeah.
Right. The body can do that maybe once or twice, but if you keep going with too much, you're going to get hurt. And I have had that. Your realistic your ability to realistically evaluate where you are and what level you should be at, and your ability to check your ego or your embarrassment. If it's your first time in a gym,
Yeah.
it can be
That's so
intimidating. It can be
intimidating. So
embarrassing.
intimidating.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you've got to get okay with that sometimes. Like, because for the most part, people are excited for you to be in the gym.
Yes.
There are some people who aren't, but for the most part, people are really proud of you for being there. And so we would really want you to feel comfortable to come in and start, because you will make progress if you just stick with it.
Yeah. If you have somebody coming in, how do you know what is the right thing to do or the right place to start?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is it the gym? Is it at home? Is it, body weight? I mean, is there tools or a way for them to assess where they are without, I mean,
Yeah,
I always suggest expert advice, 100%,
for
right?
sure. But everyone can't afford that,
Yeah.
right? It's a privileged thing to think, isn't it? Right?
Hmm.
Like, yeah, just talk to a personal trainer. Yeah, oh, okay, I'll just take $150 an hour and give it
Yeah.
to this person, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not for everyone.
Or
So,
even to be able to afford the gym.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's where you start, where you can,
Yeah.
right? We have to start with the habit. Start way below where you're used to. We do these terrible challenges sometimes that are like, okay, it's 200 calories on a bike as fast as you can do it, and you do it every week. And that there's various reasons for doing this, but it's absolutely dreadful.
Sounds
It's awful. When I have a period of not doing that, right, and I know I'm going to go back to doing it, I just get on the bike and I just do 200 calories. It's an assault bike where you do the arms and the legs with no pressure on the time. Because what
Mhm.
I'm trying to do is just build the routine and build the habit, knowing
Totally.
that over time, if I know it took me 17 minutes, I'm going to try and do it in less next time. And I'm going to allow myself to adapt to that, to where I'm still not going to try and do it in 10 minutes the second time. I'm just going to beat 17, right? And it's going to be relatively easy, but I'm going to get to a point where I actually want to push harder and harder and harder, where it really does become this like diabolical thing that we do every week for the mental resilience piece.
Yeah.
But it doesn't start out like that. And I would suggest that's how people start, whether it's at home, whether it's at the gym. You should start way below your capacity, because it's going to take you a while to even figure out what your capacity is, right? If you've
Yeah.
never lifted weights, how do you know where to start 12 reps? Oh, okay, Jeremy says do 12 reps. Like, I'll just go right
Yeah.
to the weight I'm supposed to use. Like, it's going to take you a while to figure that out. So if it was super easy on your first set, yeah, maybe do a little more. Right, and figure it out. You talked about it a lot in terms of trial and error, experiment, try things, right? And so that would be it.
Yeah,
Start
you can
below.
always build upon the habit,
Hmm.
right? I say that all the time, even with nutrition and food and other
Yeah,
lifestyle habits, like finding that foundational place first,
Yeah.
right? Just, I don't even care if you just drive to the gym and you don't even go in, right?
Right.
But you're building the skill of getting there.
Yeah.
You're building that foundation of like, where does that actually fit in my schedule? Maybe I can do it in the morning, but it worked better in the evening, right? And now we can build upon that. Now what do you do when you show up at the gym? I think to apply that in all cases, it's kind of like, if I have somebody that is not eating breakfast and I want them to start eating breakfast, half the time I'm like, I don't even care. What did you have for breakfast? Just have it. Get into the habit of getting up, having it be a part of your day, and we can build upon that. If we want this to be sustainable, we don't want it to like die off in February. How can we just set that foundation so that we can build upon it, whether that is food or movement or working out or any kind of habit or goal?
Yeah, exactly. It's the only way we get past March. Right, it really
Absolutely.
is if we start this way. If you don't eat breakfast and they come to see you and you tell them they've got to, poach 4 eggs and have this much protein and this much carbohydrate and it's this, you're going to have this big meal, like that might happen once. Same with lifting. If I give you a program that is just way beyond your capacity, you will never sustain it.
Yeah.
And I know that. I don't, and I have a PhD in this stuff. Like, I know the benefit of doing this program, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing to bear in mind here. It is progression, it is overload, and you will naturally want to do more of it.
When I'm working one-on-one with clients, we do a deep dive into all the things: labs, dieting history, current food intake, right? Really assess all the things. I'm assuming you kind of do the same and would suggest someone doing the same. In the case of like, if you don't have me or they don't have you, right? That could be having a conversation with your doctor to assess your labs, see where is your metabolic health, get really, really clear on where you are at currently.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume, that you probably have a very similar approach. And would you recommend, how does someone kind of assess where they are at currently so that they know the next kind of steps on how to move forward?
Yeah, I think your doc's always a good place to start because that can help you with those more health related goals, right? So go and get your blood work done. Understand where you're at from a health standpoint. The other thing to understand is, where are you starting from? Just from a basic level, are you in pain, right? Do your knees hurt? Does your back hurt? Do you have shoulder pain if you lift your arms overhead? Right? Are there any specific movements that you do with any part of your body that cause you pain, causing you to avoid that movement? Right? So that's our first red flag, and that tells us where to start. If that's the case, you need to start with a physical therapist, right? So you go to your doctor, you tell them you have pain. I would like to go and see a physical therapist. Can you write me a script? Now, for some insurances and for some PTs, you don't have to do that. You can just go directly to your local physical therapy clinic. And they can start you on something that's going to look like those foundational programs that I was talking to you about. Yeah. It will be site specific. It will focus on the knee that you tell them about, or the shoulder. But it's such a good way to go and prepare the groundwork, because what you can't build upon is an injury, right? If your shoulders hurt and it hurts to do this and you keep doing this and now you add weight to it, it's going to get worse and you're going to be in surgery. We can do it in a proper way where we go and get some physical therapy. And then once it stops hurting, now that's where you can progress on to, okay, what are some performance related markers? If you're deconditioned and you have never lifted, like, how many times can you squat down to a chair in a minute? Right? It's actually really difficult at any level, right? So anytime you do something, as many as you can do for a period of time, do 30 seconds. It'll just help you see where you are and track your progress. If you repeat that every month, you'll see your progress. So there are little things. Can you do a push-up? Right? Can you get up off the ground? One of the things we start with is, can you get up off the ground without using your hands? Right? Because if you tell me you want to play pickleball when you're 90, but you're currently 50 and you can't get off the ground, like, where do you think that's going?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of these functional tests, and you can pull them online, right? Functional daily living tests. Can I do all of these things? There are certain performance metrics on okay, here's how many push-ups people who are my age can generally do. Here are the percentiles. So you can look at all these things and see what your level is. Like, go to a track and how far can you go around the track in 12 minutes? Just little things that you can assess your capacity and sort of get some guidance on, like, wow, I'm not very strong, but I'm actually quite fit. So maybe there needs to be a little balance here.
I think this is so important because I think people just jump in to things because they saw some random person online tell them to, without even once thinking about where they currently are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of what I was saying before about people are just, they're just following other people's rules without even actually checking in and truly seeing the place that they're starting from.
Yeah.
And to your point, that can absolutely lead to injuries. That could absolutely lead, on my end, that can lead to this vicious stop dieting cycle because it just wasn't a fit for them in the first place, or where they should have, you know, put their effort.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it with fiber, right? Oh, I need to get 50 grams of fiber. I'll do that tomorrow. Well, that's not how that's going to work. Yeah. May want to sleep in a different room.
No, seriously.
But even like, you've taught me a lot about this, is fiber is fuel for your microbiome. If you haven't eaten much fiber, you don't have much microbiome. So you literally just don't have enough bugs to eat all of the fiber. So we have to gradually increase in order to let the microbiome, let your gut adjust to you putting that in. And it's the same. Like, anytime we exceed our capacity by too much, it causes us discomfort. Yeah. So training for me is having a goal, assessing where you currently are relative to that goal, and safely moving towards it. Like that's training. Working out is, I'm going to the gym today. It's going to be hard. That's just like, anyone can do that.
Yeah. I guess we're both just not promoting, but just doing things purposefully. I don't know how to word that other way.
No,
just like,
we're doing things in line with the body's physiology, your psychology. Mm-hmm. This is just how humans work, right? They adapt to things over time, and they break when we exceed their capacity, right? That's how all of these things work.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, scientists approach things that way. And when you've gone and you've got the deep training in it, you understand that nuance, and you understand that it's not just about training. It is psychology, it is routine, it is logistics. And so if we have that goal and that here's where we are, we understand all of the limiting factors along the way, the things we're going to have to change to make that successful. So, I just think it's a standard approach across the healthcare domains that if done in coordination is exponentially more powerful than if it's done, you do nutrition and I do strength training and that's it.
Yeah. If I have somebody that is coming off of dieting ridiculously, like months and months and months of dieting, chronic dieting, and their goal is to like recomp, right? And they want to build muscle and decrease body fat, most likely I would start them at maintenance. There's no way I'd put them in a calorie deficit because they've literally been in a deficit forever and ever. Whereas if someone is like has never dieted before and they want to go into this like season of recomposition, then I might start them in a deficit. These kind of very specific targeted goals. Could I list, hey, for January 1st, these are the things I want you to focus on for 6 months? I could absolutely do that. Yeah. 25 grams of fiber a day, 30 grams of protein at each meal. I could definitely start listing those.
Yeah.
But do you feel like, based on everything we've talked about, people would be clear on this is kind of where I should start?
Right. So I think let's outline that. So we will speak to men or women who have not been in the gym before, right? Under-muscled, probably compromised bone density, and don't have this as a habit. I would start January 1st, go to the gym, and plan on being in the gym for 30 minutes. I would go and I would walk around the gym and find out where things are. Right? Go and find a space that you're going to be comfortable in, essentially, right? This is a logistical problem. If you walk into the gym and I say, okay, you're going to go into the dumbbell section right? It's January 1st, bear in mind. Every human on the planet is going to be in the dumbbell section, right? And they're all going to look like me, and they've all lifted, and they're all like super intimidating. It's going to be intimidating. So find the place in the gym that you can be for half an hour, right? I have to do this, right? So you go in and you find your spot, and the first day, the first week, I want you to get used to that, being in that place, and I want you to do a stretching routine. That's it. For the first week, we're going to stretch, right? And you can look one up online, like look up on YouTube, beginner stretching routine. It can be 5 to 10 minutes. You put your phone there and you follow along. And we have a routine like that on our Instagram if you want to follow along with that. Just go in there and stretch. Get used to being in the environment. See who's who, where people go. Is this a good space for you? Then I would start going, okay, like, what's a little core training routine that I can do? What equipment do I need? Where are the bands? Where are the things that I'm going to need to do my little program? And so all of these, like these are prep for the first 2 weeks. These are logistics and prep, and you're starting to stretch and you're starting to do some core work. Then we start, probably about 3 weeks in, we're starting to see some familiar faces. Right. So you're starting to meet some people in the gym. You're starting to build some relationships. And that's super, super important because that's going to be your support system in the gym. People will actually start like looking for you. Right. Now you're starting to do your program. Right. You're starting to introduce your core work, your band work. You're starting to do your correctives. Maybe the physical therapist you've just finished with has given you a list of exercises to do. Right. Keep doing them and, pull up your next beginner's strength training program on YouTube and follow along. And think that's how you'll start. And then because you'll start talking to the trainers, right? And you can start asking who's qualified, who's training people, doing stuff that you kind of like the look of, right? Who looks like you want to look, right? They might have gone through the process. Like if you're trying to add muscle, like, can you see like men or women who are in that process? Can you see a trainer who is guiding people through that process, right? And that's how you start sort of sussing out like who you might want to ask for help and who you may not, right? That if there's a powerlifting coach, that's probably not your guy.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fine. If you're a powerlifter, like that's your guy. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like there's regulars in the gym who like giving you advice. Mostly it'll be unsolicited.
Yeah.
But they're people who like being asked. Right? Nobody's going to be offended if you go over and you're like, hey, can you show me how to use this? Most people would be really happy to have beginners, especially, like get used to these things, and they'll give you some encouragements. That's how I would start, like January 1. If I didn't have the resources to have a trainer right away or be in an online program, I think that's probably where I would be, is in the gym, sussing it out, finding my spots where I'm comfortable, where I don't feel intimidated, threatened, and where I can gradually start increasing my bubble to include more people and get to know people better. All the time starting to introduce some of these exercises.
I love that. Like, absolutely love that. I just want to take that clip and send it to all the peoples that I talk to.
Well, we will clip it and you can send it to people.
I mean, because the reality is, it is rare. It's honestly rare that I, at least in the women that I typically work with, that they've ever been in a gym. Or actually, I take that back. They've been in a gym, but that section of the gym.
Yeah,
so
that's
everything
the cardio section upstairs, right?
They are very, very familiar with the cardio section, right? Or the exercise class room. And I'm not saying that those things are bad, right? Like, if you love those classes, cool.
Yeah.
But that's so useful for those that are just absolutely 100% intimidated by the gym. I mean, if I've started at moved and started at a new gym, and I feel like I'm comfortable in a gym, and it's intimidating going into a gym. Even
look, it is for me
when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm very strong. I know exactly what I'm doing better than anyone else in the gym, and it is a little intimidating because like everyone's sort of got their spot and they're all frowning and
yeah.
And they've got no sleeves on their shirt.
I would definitely, like, if someone approached me and asked me for help, I would absolutely, oh my God, 100%. I really do believe most people at the gym would be so willing to.
Yeah. People are just in their own world.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's like, actually like mad. Like everyone's like looking super serious and super like into their thing. But
Yeah.
it's important to be in that area. It's important to build muscle. So you've got to build your comfort with that, right? And you'll understand, like, say hello to people. They'll say hello back, right? You start breaking down some of that over time.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
I think if you smile at people, for the most part, they'll smile back. Some won't, but it's fine. Like, you'll find your people, right? That you'll find those who are not your people, and you'll find those who are. And it's so important. But understand that everybody goes through that. Everybody walking into a new
Yeah.
gym finds it uncomfortable to start with. So just start small. We spend most of our time not by the dumbbells. They'll have these little like functional training areas that are like a strip of turf, and they'll have kettlebells and TRX
Yeah.
machines and all these sorts of things. We spend most of our time over there because we do a lot of stuff that involves movement. You've trained with us. Like, it doesn't look like traditional weight training a lot. So we don't spend a lot of time over in that section, but you got to be comfortable around like the weight training area. You got to get off the treadmills and out of the elliptical area and get in there, because it's just so important for your longevity to start building muscle.
So let me ask you next question.
Mm-hmm.
Support around that. I always love encouraging those who start kind of that, adding that type of movement into their routine, that the recovery piece is just as crucial. Proper sleep and managing stress, and then providing the body the building blocks through nutrition to kind of support that activity.
Yeah. So, yeah, for me, look, the two really big rocks are the training and the nutrition to start with. Because again, we can create this perfect program. Yes, okay, now I've got to have my community, my sleep, I've got to take care of my brain health, I've got to get my doctor on board, I've got to get physical therapy, I've got to get it's too big. So going to the gym and getting the stimulus, number one, is so important. Complementing that with the nutrition, and that's really recovery. Days off and eating is recovery. There's other stuff, but if you're doing that, you're a long way along the road. So understand that what you're doing, the exercise metabolism piece, you're going into the gym and you're working in a range that is fueled by carbohydrate. It is anaerobic. When you're lifting weights, you are lifting them for less than 2 minutes at a time. If you're less than 2 minutes, your body just doesn't even have time to turn on the aerobic pathways. So anaerobic work, you cannot burn fat without oxygen. So you are exclusively burning carbohydrate. So that's the fuel. If you want to go in and actually make progress and actually be able to have the energy to do your program, you have to provide it with fuel, right? Likewise, recovery, when we lift, we damage muscle. And that's a part of what we do, is we break it down and we cause damage. So we now need some protein. We need some carbohydrate to restock our fuel stores so that we can train again, because we've provided those building blocks. We've provided the stimulus by damaging the muscle a little bit. The recovery is when we actually adapt and get better.
Yeah.
Right? That's our day off, and that's our nutrition. Then we go back and we give it another stimulus. So we damage it a little bit again. We recover, we repair it better. So that's where I suggest we start. And then we can start talking about the logistics around sleep. Because again, they can, just like with, okay, I've got to eat all my vegetables. Sleep is hard.
Yeah.
The social media companies do not want you to be asleep. You do not bring them money when you are asleep. So there's a whole logistical nightmare around sleep. How do we even give you an 8-hour sleep opportunity? I'm telling you, you've got to be asleep for 8 hours, which means you've got to be in bed for 9.
Yeah.
Right? That's a whole another layer of conversation. That let's just build this habit first. I'm not trying to diminish the importance of sleep.
Yeah.
Because it's one of our pillars. Our pillars are intelligent training, conscious nutrition, restorative sleep, emotional, social, spiritual connection, optimal brain health, and then proactive medicine. Right? So these are the things, the foundational elements that we're going to build on that will make 99% of your program. If you come into our full program, you will be assessed on all of those. And with the athletes, Like we would design the entire season around sleep opportunity. So it's infinitely important. It's how we restore our brain. It's how we restore our body.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get to it. Most people aren't thinking of that as their limiting factor and don't logistically, it's very difficult. Often it's easier for them to find a half hour to the gym than it is to start messing with their sleep. However, if I identify that as their number one limiting factor, if we look at the biomarkers could be all off, their whole routine can be off because we identify sleep as their challenge, 100% that goes to the top of the list. That becomes our number one priority, and we start strategizing around sleep quality with some environmental changes. And then we start looking at how do we get 15 minutes of extra sleep opportunity. I don't need you to go from 5 hours of sleep to 10 hours. Not going to happen. The difference between A students and B students is 15 minutes of sleep in high school. Right? That was the difference in the research. So if I can get you in 15-minute increments and we say, okay, for this month, we're going to try and be in bed 15 minutes earlier. It will make a difference to your health and your performance.
Yeah.
So absolutely, these are habits we're going to build. We just have to think about habits one at a time and not overload people with change too soon. Yeah. Again, if it's a long-term program, it's not all at once. Know that we're going to get to it. We're going to have a period where this is a focus to build upon all of these other habits we've built, but we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And for me, most people, it's that stimulus level that we need to increase.
Yeah. I like to look at it too. Like if you have a core specific habit that you want to implement throughout the day, whether that is going to the gym and then, if there's kind of friction happening, why are you not consistently, if you set the goal to go to the gym, why are you not showing up? And I try to have people work backwards from that. Like what's kind of causing that? I use an example. Something that I would suggest for people, and where I start a lot with clients, is the consistency of meals throughout the day and starting to be really consistent for various reasons. One of them being, when we're consistent with meals, we can kind of then gather data on how that meal is impacting us, and then we can alter it and change it to our individual needs. But often I find that first meal of the day, it's a struggle for many, many people. And often the reason is because they're not giving themselves enough time in the morning to prep a meal, make a meal. They're just getting ready and out the door. It's probably the same thing with working out too. So if I have a client that's like, my only time I can work out is I have to get up in the morning and go, right? But I cannot do that. And I actually have a client in mind. If they're listening, they know I'm talking about them. It's been like on their list. Like every week we're setting a goal. I'm going to go to the gym twice a week in the morning, and it doesn't happen. So then it just kept not happening, right? And I'm like, okay, there's friction somewhere. Can we back up? And it was the fact that they were staying up too late. The original goal is I want to go to the gym this many times, but now the actual goal this week is I need you to go to bed and not be on social media. Well, I'm not telling them that, but that's kind of what we came to the conclusion.
Yeah.
So that was that ended up being the actual goal that week, that led to them getting up in time, that led to then going to the gym. So what is the friction, and how do we work backwards to figure out where that stems from?
Exactly. And
that can be really, really helpful.
Yeah. So I would refer to that as like a keystone habit, right? If we get that one thing in place, and sleep for me is my keystone habit, right?
Same.
If I can do everything else, if I can just get in bed. And we had Dr. Sherry Ma on the show. She worked in a lot of my teams as a sleep consultant. She termed it like, think of sleep as the start of tomorrow, not the end of today.
Love that.
And so reframing it that way, it absolutely is that for me. If I go to bed, I can get up. If I can get up, I can get to the gym. I can have my breakfast and all of those. So yes, we sort of referred to that when we said about training, right? Like, here's your goal. Here's where you are. Us as experts, what I need to know is, what is your limiting factor, right? And for your client, sleep. That's what the number one limiting factor. Same for me, my sleep. My ability to shut down and get in bed and have quality sleep is challenging, right? So I know that that's my limiting factor on my journey.
Yeah.
That's our role as experts, is to understand it's not just the habit. It's all of the logistics surrounding the habit, and how do we make that actionable for you, right? How do we give you something to just go and do, right? Not to have to solve it yourself, not to have to think too deeply about it. I want you to put your phone in the basket at 8:30. That's it. You don't even have to say go get in bed. That's my challenge. I get sucked in.
Yeah, that's mine. Sleep man. But I will say I feel like Superwoman when it happens. We underestimate all the skills, all the structure, all the things that need to be in place to even do that thing.
Yeah. So we sort of break them down into, there's your goals as the client, and then there's my goals for you. Right? Your goals are the most important ones. My goals for you are clearing those roadblocks, right? You want to play pickleball. I want you to not tear your ACL playing pickleball, right? And so that's not necessarily important to you. They're like, what are you talking about? Why would I tear my ACL?
Yeah.
Here's 3 reasons. My job's to fix the reasons so you can play the pickleball. And I think that's part of that, right? It's identifying these limiting factors. It's identifying the things that we know are going to prevent you from here, and us building them into your program so that those things happen. Right? They don't necessarily know why they're doing the exercises I give them or the habits that you're building for them, but we know it's in service of their goal, right? Hard to lose weight if you're not sleeping.
Very.
That's really challenging. They don't necessarily know that that's why you're giving them this habit set. So yeah, I think the issue we can run into is that it starts sounding too complex for people. I think our job as coaches is to simplify. There's what we need to know, and there's what our clients need to know. If we overcomplicate it, if we can't explain it, take that complexity and condense it, we're going to push more people away than we're going to bring to this healthful life. And so I really think that's the part that's on us, is to take that complexity and sort of hold it for them so that they can just, okay, do these 3 things and you're going to be fine. And, my goal for people is not to go and sit in the corner of the gym, but it's a step along the way, right?
Yes.
It's part of the process. It's what's going to allow you to be comfortable so that down the line, you can go and get the gym bro to spot you on the bench, and ask him how much protein you should be eating. Right? It's like, it's in service of future you, right? So these are the processes that go in my mind is, okay, how can I make this just like, so 90% of people hearing, if they do this, they'll make progress. Yeah. It's not going to be super bespoke for them. It's not going to solve all of their specific problems, but by and large, everyone needs to do this. That's generally how I approach this. And then that's where the coaching comes in, right? Then the nuance, then the individualization and all this stuff starts to really build into it.
Yeah, because a lot of times it just takes that one little thing to get people to really be bought in. And I often encourage people just to find that one thing for them that feels doable in the moment. Once I see people, my favorite thing is to see that momentum building. And then as a coach, to have someone come back and be like, okay, now what? Like, hey,
exactly,
I'm doing this consistently. And that confidence builds and that excitement builds of like, wow, I'm actually feeling like I have more energy, or I feel confident in putting a meal together that's balanced. Like, now what? Like, what's next? And so this kind of tying this back to everything we've been talking about in the new year, and really refraining from just changing absolutely everything.
Right.
And just starting at a place that feels really good to you, that feels sustainable, and all the rest will come, right? Because
it's compounding.
You'll be bought in.
Yeah, and you'll want to do more, right? It compounds on itself. You start seeing a little progress, so you start exercising more. You start exercising more, you start feeling good, you start eating a little bit healthier, right? These systems all feed themselves. You naturally start sleeping a little better. But if you come to me on January 1st and I tell you, okay, you're going to get 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, no.
You're going to get 50 grams of fiber. You're going to be within your calorie balance. You're going to eat 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And you're going to lift weights 4 times a week for an hour. I bet you're not doing it in a week. But if we start, with a little bit of one of those, I bet in a year you're doing all of those.
Yeah. And I think my suggestion to everyone is, what is that one thing for you that feels doable and right? And that might not be like the thing that everyone is talking about online or,
right. Yeah, same with exercise.
Will compound.
Right. That's how you should start exercise. Find something you absolutely love.
Yeah.
Because you'll keep doing it. If you're like, you know what I absolutely hate is tennis, right? And so I'm like, well, you know what? That's the best way to burn body fat. So you got to play tennis every day. No, you're just not going to do it. Like, go if you just love bird watching, right? And so you go and hike through the forest and you do your bird watching. You're going to do that every day, right? You can do that as often as you can because you love it. And so let's start with something you love. Same with exercises in the gym. Are there any exercises you love doing? Great, I'll build them in for you, right? Because they like them and they're moving. Why not? So I think that it's the same. Like if we remove the specifics of what you and I are talking about, we're talking about humans changing their behavior.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's nutrition or sleep or medicine or exercise. It doesn't matter. It's behavior change. And as soon as we as coaches get our heads around that, we realize that our domain knowledge will never be limited ever again by how much we know, ever. We'll be limited in our ability to apply that to a human who has a complex life and a complex psychology, and we want them to change, right? That's how we are going to become expert coaches. That's how practitioners need to be thinking versus like, do you know how much I know about this? Let me tell you.
I know.
I'm going to teach you the science of weight training. That's awesome.
I say that all the time. Could I blab on and on about every single nerdy process of the body? And, could I make the most perfect nutrition plan and send it to you? That doesn't get people results. That doesn't help people change at all. You could go chat GPT a meal plan right now, right? Like if you really, really wanted to. It's really, really about behavior change. And I think even if you don't have a coach, I think everyone should have one. That doesn't mean that could be a support in any fashion to kind of walk you through that. But from somebody that's just listening to this, that's like, I'm on my own. Now what do I do? It's just recognizing that, finding the thing that feels the best. I don't know. That might sound so cheesy. But really, it does, I work with clients all day, every day. It doesn't matter the meal plan I give them. It doesn't matter how much knowledge I know. Helping them kind of weed through, hey, this is my routine. This is what my day looks like. This is the things I love. To your point, these are the foods I love. This is what seems realistic. And then starting at a place that just feels doable in that moment. I feel like we overcomplicate things. My clients that make long-term change, they just started at a place that felt right to them. Right. That met them where they were at in that moment, and they were able to be consistent with it and then built upon that.
Exactly right. And it was the same for me in pro sport. Like I never got capped out on my knowledge of the human body, like, because they're just complex humans as well. So look, I think that it's that message that underlies everything, right? It's that changing your behavior consistently over time in a program that works for you is what will give you the results.
It was such a practical conversation with Erika. Here are 3 key insights that you can take away from today's episode. Number 1, start way below your capacity and focus on building the habit before worrying about intensity. The first 2 weeks should be about logistics, finding your spot in the gym, stretching, doing basic core work, and getting comfortable with the environment. If you jump in too hard on January 1st, injury or overwhelming soreness will put you out of the program before you've established your routine. Number 2, avoid the all or nothing mentality by making small, sustainable changes rather than overhauling everything at once. Whether it's trying one new vegetable per month, adding 15 minutes of sleep per night, or going to the gym to stretch for the first week, these incremental changes will compound over time and lead to lasting transformation that survives past February. Number 3, the biggest limiting factor to your fitness goals is usually not lack of knowledge, but unaddressed logistics and friction points. If you can't get to the gym for the morning session, the real problem might be that you're staying up too late on social media, not lack of motivation. Working backwards from your goal to identify and eliminate these friction points is how you turn aspirations into sustainable habits. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the show is to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave a rating or a review, and share this with somebody that you think could benefit from this message. It makes a real difference in helping us reach more people who could benefit from these conversations. You can stay connected with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Vitality Collective Performance, where we share additional insights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.